Hi guys, Ronnie here and welcome to the workshop. Today I want to show you another special build that we've done recently that's based on the brand new Pinarello Dogma F frameset, the 2025 edition, and it's the first one of its kind that we've built with some pretty high-end components that we haven't used before. So I want to tell you all about that in this video. So here is the bike in question. It's, as I said, a 2025 Dogma F frameset in a custom MyWay paint job. I think it's called Crystal White and Borealis Blue for the logos. Pretty stunning if you ask me. Very nicely fits the shapes of the frame, which are rather kind of voluptuous and yeah, just as you would expect from a Pinarello maybe. My particular favorites are the smooth through axle holes, well, the blind holes in this case. So here we have a nice kind of tab and a Pinarello logo and a Dogma logo back there on the rear. So pretty stunning. No huge changes from the previous generation to this bike. There are, well, apart from these, of course, this is new. There are two more notable changes. So the first thing is the front end, which is now a lot narrower and uses an elliptical steerer, which I really like because it means you can't misalign your handlebar. It's always going to point straight because there's no other way to install it other than the correct way. But this also requires a new handlebar, which is the most Talon ultra fast as opposed to ultralight, which was the one that came before it. And the handlebar actually I really like as well because it comes in really modern shapes and sizes. So this one is a 130mm stem and the so-called 40, but that means it's 40 centimeters wide in the drops, and even that I think is edge to edge, while on the hoods it's super narrow at just 36 centimeters. So if you're looking for an aero position, then this is definitely a good bike for you. And this isn't even the narrowest handlebar. They go down even one size narrower, which is 340 millimeters at the tops. So that's really good in terms of aerodynamics and really forward looking, which is not something you generally see from traditional, particularly Italian brands. So I'm really happy to see that. Now, without having the old version side by side, you can't really guess the difference in the head tube width, but actually it's pretty significant because I've just seen them a few days ago when we were still building up this bike side to side. So yeah, if you see them like that, then the difference is quite striking. And then of course another notable feature, new feature of this bike, is the so-called aero keel bottom bracket. It's kind of this massive area that's filled in here, and it kind of the whole positioning of the bottom of the down tube just kicks forward to create, well, basically a ship-like hull in there, and also the rear triangle is kind of filled in. So interesting shaping, aids aerodynamics and stiffness, and I think it looks pretty cool as well. So as far as this frame set goes, I really like the features. Also, the seat post remained at a very narrow cross section, so the battery is still located in the down tube near the bottom bracket in a very similar trapdoor mount, just like before. And the chain stays and seat stays, at least optically to me, looked pretty similar to the old version, but there are slight tweaks to those as well, as you would expect to complement the new shaping elsewhere. So really striking looking frame. I'm pretty sure it rides beautifully, although I haven't ridden one of these yet. But yeah, I really like it, so I'm seriously thinking about getting one, to be honest. because I've never had a road Pinarello, or well, any Pinarello for that matter. So definitely an interesting choice, and probably the most beautiful looking bike out there on the market, at least in my eye. So that's the frame set. As I said, particularly good looking in this finish. As for the specs, this of course isn't the lightest frame set around, so it's around, I believe, 200 grams heavier than a tarmac, with aero performance that's right up there with the leaders according to aero tests. So yeah, really nice looking bike, definitely on the exclusive side, and of course on the premium side, price wise, being a Pinarello, but yeah, kind of no surprises there. So that's pretty much it about the frame set. Let's talk about the rest of the build and the components that we have chosen. So again, as you had probably expect, we have Dura-Ace Di2 group set here. Now with the latest editions, I think still this one is the way to go for high-end builds. SRAM is not really my favorite. You can't really do much to upgrade it with exclusive parts. The shifting is rather slow. The brakes are better than Shimano, but that can be fixed with aftermarket parts. And it's supposedly lighter than Shimano, but again, that can be undercut with using aftermarket parts, as we have here. So yeah, I don't see much reason for that. Also, the drivetrain itself is less efficient, and you've got the awkward 10-tooth cog at the bottom. So wouldn't be my first choice. Nevertheless, the new SRAM Red is an excellent group set, and I really like the hoods, the braking, etc. But yeah, for a super high-end road build, I think this one is still the way to go. A new notable upcoming group set is, of course, the Campy 13-speed, which I'm really eyeing as well. I think that could give this one a potential run for its money, and I like the new features of those. So yeah, but here we have classic Dura-Ace. And if we start at the front, as always, then of course we got the STR 9270 shift brake levers, equipped also with sprint shifters as per the request of this particular customer. On the handlebar, we've got an aluminum frames and gear mount for the Garmin and GoPro or Lite or whatever. Annoyingly, the handlebar or the frame set, despite the costs, still don't come with a handlebar mount or a computer mount included, so we have to source an aftermarket one, which is what we did. And yeah, that's the handlebar area, finished up with some Silca Nastro Cusino bar tape, 2.5mm in this case, which is my favorite bar tape that we use on all of the builds that we do here, at least the high-end ones. So that's the cockpit area. Handlebar dimensions I've already mentioned earlier, so you've got that there. Really nice handlebar and stem combination. So now down to the front wheel, which is a big hit, I would say, this year on the market, and definitely winning a lot of ground in the high-end segment, or a super high-end segment, maybe I should say. So this is, well, actually not just the front, but the rear, or a set of Scope Artech 6 wheels, and they're really rather unique in construction. So you have this kind of carp style flakes on the surface. This aids boundary layer attachment, similar as what you get in zip dimples, but supposedly performs better, which is also confirmed by independent tests. So really aero set of wheels. But the big party trick here is the weight, because this 65mm deep set weighs just 1244 grams, which is absolutely bonkers. Previously it was hard to get 25mm rim in that depth. So yeah, absolutely stunning. This is achieved by a combination of various technologies. So you've got a very special layup which is reinforced only at the spoke holes to cut weight from the rim. Then you've got their own carbon bladed spokes, and also the hubs are extremely tricky because these are topology optimized 3D printed scalp alloy hubs. So not something you see very often in cycling applications. The top end technology applied there, state of the art really. And inside, of course, there are some ceramic speed hub bearings. So as far as wheels go, you can't really up these at the moment, not even with Lightweight or Partington or Princeton or anything like that. So that's pretty straightforward. In my book, set up tubeless, of course, we have a Continental Aero 111 29mm on the front, just for added crosswind stability, mostly because rolling resistance wise this is not a very fast tire, but for road applications, kind of low to mid speed, it really performs well in these high yaw angles where it saves you a lot of drag, prevents stalling, and stabilizes the front end of the bike, which is really helpful. To stop all that speed, we have a Carbon TI front brake rotor paired with amp carbon brake pads for extra stopping power. This is a really big upgrade in combination relative to the standard Shimano parts. And as a neat little thing there, you can also see we have a frames and gear titanium pin for the brake pads, and frames and gear titanium caliper bolts. So pretty much fully upgraded there on that front. And this is an upgrade I really like to do because, yeah, in comparison with SRAM and Campy, the Shimano braking in stock form kind of sucks. So this is what we do to prevent that. Then if you go further back to the bike, we have some Elite Leggero carbon bottle cages. These are super lightweight, perform really well, and not a particularly expensive or boutique component, but they just work. So I kind of like those. As for the drivetrain or the rest of it, we have my now favorite Cybrei dub cranks in 170mm length. I forgot to mention the frame size, that is a 55. So yeah, not super short, kind of shorter than standard, but nothing extreme. Little light crankset, stiff, beautifully made, and has a good power meter options, just like this Power2Max NG SL, which is basically a gold standard, possibly along with SRM's new units, widely regarded as one of the best power meters. So that's what we also often use on these high-end bike builds. Rechargeable battery as well, which is a really neat feature. Then to put the power in, we use Speedplay Zero pedals. In this particular case, with our DLC coated titanium upgrades for really low weight and extra durability. Normally these come uncoated, just plain titanium, and those wear out pretty fast. With this hardened coating, that's not really the case. So we have the spindle, the bolts, and the step plates. We don't have the ceramic bearing upgrade here because, well, this is a general use road bike. It's probably going to see a lot of kilometers and maybe harsher weather as well, so you want that as a race day option mainly, so we didn't go for that here. The chain rings that are on are also from Carbon TI, often used by professionals for their stiffness, and it's one of the few chain rings where shift performance comes really close to Shimano, so that's a good thing as well. It's a 54-40 combination, so pretty standard for a race bike. Of course, standard Shimano front mech, and we are using no chain catcher here. The customer didn't requested it. Honestly, not really needed with these new Durace mechs because they just work so damn good. So yeah, that's the crank situation. And of course, the bottom bracket in there is ceramic speed coated, Italian threaded in this case. and we also tapped the bottom bracket just for those extra few percent of efficiency to have the cups perfectly aligned. So yeah, that's now the bottom bracket area finished. I've already mentioned the seat post. Maybe a few more interesting details is that as standard, it uses a 3D printed titanium clamp, which is an extremely neat thing, rather exclusive and not something you see on stock bikes, although at this price perhaps not so surprising. You also have a nicely blended in wedge that secures it, also rather neat, no visible wedge. Like on the previous one, you really just see two very small bolt holes, so that's extremely neatly done. On top of it, we have a WoW mag saddle, in itself a really exclusive part. This is the updated version with the padding extending below the base, so you can't snag your shorts on it. And it's a saddle that I use personally and have been for the past 2 years. Really love it. Very good combination of support in the aero position and just general all-day comfort. Yeah, then of course we have the rear wheel with the same rotor, same upgrade for the brakes, obviously. 1130 Dura-Ace cassette, Dura-Ace box chain, as you would expect. Dura-Ace rear derailleur with again some upgrades. So we have the latest Alpha RS ceramic speed pulley wheel system, which again I really love. It's a great upgrade over the previous one because it uses a labyrinth seal at the bearings, so you can have an extremely low amount of friction and grease in there while still providing excellent protection for the bearings, and you don't need to really service them very often. So that's the best of both worlds, really. And we've got again a Frames and Gear titanium bolt for the hanger and the Frames and Gear direct mount hanger itself. That's just really a must for these high-end builds. It makes the bike look a lot neater, the shifting is crisper, and yeah, just looks great overall. So that's the rear mag. The cassette I already mentioned. And one more thing perhaps is that we use an asymmetric tire setup. So on the rear we've got a 28mm TTTR, again set up tubeless for the lowest possible rolling resistance to make this overall a really efficient package. So yeah, I think that's all for this build. And I believe you would agree that it's a really nice one in the end. But I'm pretty sure some of you will have some different suggestions for the components, so let me know in the comments below what you would change on this bike. And of course, if you want to have one built by us to your exact likings based on your exact bike fitting data that we take from you to have a really perfect holistic package, and build your own dream Pinarello, Colnago, Specialized, MV or other top-end bike, of course, don't hesitate to reach us via the links below. Thanks for watching and see you next time.